Welcome back to the channel. Today's story starts with an abandoned piece of land and ends with an airplane restaurant, a major betrayal, and an unexpected hero. Let's dive in. Frank Dillard stood in his small city apartment, the morning sun casting streaks of gold across worn wooden floors. His retirement had been intentionally quiet, a welcome retreat after decades in politics. He had long ago traded the chaotic life of public office for solitary mornings, with his books and quiet walks by the river. But peace can be fleeting, and this particular morning shattered his calm with a phone call that sent chills down his spine. "Frank," said a shaky yet familiar voice, "they put an airplane on your land?" The voice belonged to Larry Jenkins, Frank's childhood friend, who still lived in the sleepy coastal town they'd grown up in. Initially, Frank thought Larry was joking, but his friend's tone carried genuine worry. Without hesitation, Frank packed a small bag, threw it into his aging Volvo, and set out on the familiar road back to his hometown, his mind swirling with confusion and questions. After 15 years, what could possibly await him? As Frank drove down Main Street, nostalgia washed over him. He remembered playing catch, fishing at the docks, and building sandcastles. But those comforting memories vanished abruptly as he pulled up near his family's cherished farmland. He slammed on the brakes, stepping out to stare incredulously. There, planted brazenly in the center of his ancestral land, sat an enormous Boeing 727, its fuselage polished and adorned with glittering neon signs proclaiming, "Skydyne Elite, an HOA experience." Frank approached hesitantly, feeling surreal disbelief. Inside, the interior boasted luxurious seating, polished tables, and chandeliers hanging from what was once the overhead compartments. A young waiter approached with a welcoming smile. "Welcome to Skydyne Elite, sir. This is the exclusive HOA executive experience." Frank blinked, bewildered. This is my land," he managed to say, still processing the absurdity. The waiter chuckled lightly, misunderstanding. "Oh, sir. Technically, this is considered a movable structure, a temporary fixture, according to the HOA. Your permission wasn't required." Frank felt a rising wave of anger. Without another word, he turned on his heel, determined to confront the HOA directly. Frank stormed into the HOA office, an imposing marble structure that had once been a community center. HOA President Dean Rutherford sat behind an unnecessarily large mahogany desk, polishing his glasses as if he'd been expecting Frank. "Ah, Mr. Dillard," Dean smirked. "We've been anticipating your arrival." "What have you done to my land?" Frank demanded, slamming a stack of title deeds onto the polished desk. "I have proof that land belongs to me." Dean leaned back comfortably, eyes cold and calculating. "Oh, Frank, I think you'll find things have changed. The boundaries were revised 15 years ago, perfectly legally, in your absence. I insured it myself. The airplane, legally classified as a mobile vehicle. You have no ground to stand on." Frank left the office shaken, but not defeated, his mind spinning with plans and questions. As he walked through the lobby, a soft voice stopped him in his tracks. "Frank? Frank Dillard?" He turned to face a familiar, though unexpected ally, Karen, the notorious former HOA hardliner. Her usually sharp eyes carried a new warmth. "Karen?" he asked, puzzled. She nodded, her voice steady and sincere. "You're the old mayor. I've been expecting you. We need to talk." Karen and Frank sat in a dimly lit cafe tucked away from prying eyes. Karen explained quietly how she'd changed in recent years. No longer the HOA's iron fist, but rather its uneasy conscience. She revealed disturbing truths. Dean had manipulated zoning laws, forged permits, and arranged for the Boeing restaurant through illicit deals with city officials and corporate investors. The plane was never just a restaurant. It was an extravagant playground exclusively catering to wealthy outsiders. "But why help me?" Frank asked skeptically. Karen sighed deeply, her face softened with regret. "Because I let this happen once before, Frank. I've seen good people lose their homes, their dignity, all because of greed, not again." United by a common cause, they started digging deeper. Secret documents uncovered in the restaurant's back office detailed falsified permits, elaborate tax evasions, and bribes to local officials. Dean's dark empire was slowly unraveling, days of covert research led Frank and Karen to a shocking discovery. Despite Dean's claims, the land ownership had never legally changed hands. All documents authorizing the restaurant were fraudulent, crafted by Dean himself. Karen carefully compiled the evidence, documenting everything meticulously. Their alliance attracted unwanted attention. Dean responded viciously, launching a smear campaign against Frank. False accusations, doctored photos, online harassment. Yet Frank and Karen stood firm, determined more than ever to reclaim justice. When news spread that the quiet retiree Frank Dillard was the town's long-lost former mayor, waves of public support began swelling behind them. Neighbors rallied, seeing Frank not as an outsider, but as a symbol of lost integrity and civic virtue. The day of reckoning arrived swiftly. In the packed courtroom, tensions buzzed. Dean sat smugly confident, flanked by expensive lawyers. But Karen and Frank stood resolute, armed with irrefutable evidence and the undeniable truth. Karen bravely took the stand, exposing every forgery, every lie. The courtroom gasped audibly when she produced secretly recorded audio files, confirming Dean's bribes and manipulation. Frank presented the genuine title deed to his land, leaving no room for doubt. The judge's gavel echoed loudly. The decision was swift and decisive. Frank's land was returned, Dean arrested for fraud and corruption, and the Boeing restaurant ordered for removal. Just as crews prepared to dismantle the plane, Frank surprised everyone. "Wait," he announced, silencing the workers. "This airplane stays, but from now on, it serves our community, not elite outsiders." With Karen's guidance, the aircraft underwent a remarkable transformation. The luxurious dining tables were replaced by warm communal seating. Fine dining gave way to wholesome meals prepared by local volunteers, and elegant lighting became cozy lamps perfect for reading. The Skydyne restaurant was reborn as Skyhope, a community kitchen, a children's learning center, and a peaceful gathering place for the elderly. On a sunny spring morning, townspeople gathered joyfully beneath the wings of the transformed aircraft. Frank stood proudly with Karen beside him, a unified vision realized. Cheers erupted as the new sign was unveiled. Skyhope, community first. Children laughed, families embraced, and neighbors warmly congratulated Frank and Karen, thanking them for their courage and compassion. Frank smiled at Karen, grateful for their unlikely friendship. "Never imagined you as a community hero," Frank teased gently. Karen laughed softly, eyes sparkling with pride. "Me neither, but people change, Frank, even old HOA villains." As they watched their neighbors come together under the airplane's shadow, Frank felt profound gratitude. He'd come home expecting trouble, but instead rediscovered purpose and community. And Karen, the once dreaded HOA hardliner, had become the town's most beloved figure, an unlikely hero with an unforgettable legacy. And so, a stolen piece of land became a symbol of unity, justice, and second chances. Frank got his home back, Karen earned a community's respect, and what began as a scam turned into a sanctuary. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time for more incredible tales from the world of HOAs.